We have been told a story for centuries, a story about the fall of angels, of divine beings who crossed a sacred boundary and were punished for their transgression. In this familiar tale, the women they took as wives are often portrayed as incidental, passive figures, mere victims caught in a celestial struggle far beyond their comprehension. But this is a comforting lie, a simplification that obscures a far more terrifying and complex truth. Beneath the surface of this ancient narrative lies a hidden history, one so dark and so consequential that its echoes are still felt today. The truth is that the wives of the Watchers were not innocent. They were not naive. They were active, willing participants in the greatest rebellion ever launched against the divine order. They were co-conspirators in a cosmic crime that brought the world to the brink of utter annihilation. And when the archangel Michael descended with the full wrath of heaven, his judgment upon them was not one of mercy, but of a terrifying and poetic justice designed to serve as an eternal warning. To understand the magnitude of their choice, we must first understand the world they inhabited. It was an age of stark divisions. Following the first murder, humanity had fractured into two distinct lineages. On the mountains, the children of Seth lived in piety and reverence, striving to maintain a connection to the Creator. But below, in the shadow of the mountain, dwelled the children of Cain. This was a lineage forged in violence and marked by a spirit of defiance. They had turned away from the divine, plunging headlong into a pursuit of hedonism, immeasurable wealth, and absolute power. They were a people without fear, consumed by the desires of the flesh. It was from this corrupted lineage that the women emerged. They were daughters of rebellion, raised in a culture that celebrated transgression. They were not simple or pure. They were ambitious, sharp, and thirsting for something beyond the mundane existence they knew. When the Watchers, heaven's most powerful guardians, beings of immense knowledge and light, turned their gaze upon them, these women did not look away in fear. They looked back with recognition and desire. This encounter was not a one-sided seduction by celestial beings. It was a mutual acknowledgement of a shared ambition. The Watchers saw in these women a vessel for their own rebellion, a means to anchor their descent in the earthly realm. The women saw in the Watchers the ultimate opportunity, a conduit to power and knowledge that God Himself had deemed forbidden. They saw a chance to transcend their human limitations, to grasp the secrets of the cosmos, and to become something more. This was not a tragedy of coercion. It was a negotiation. It was a dark pact, sealed not by force but by a mutual hunger to break the chains of divine law. Together, in an act of pure insubordination, they shattered the fundamental boundaries of creation. The union of celestial and corrupted human flesh produced offspring that were an abomination to the natural order, the Nephilim. These were not mere giants of folklore. They were monsters of immense strength and insatiable appetite, hybrid beings whose very existence was a tear in the fabric of reality. They walked the earth not as guides or protectors, but as tyrants. They consumed all the resources of mankind, and when there was nothing left to consume, they turned on humanity itself, devouring them and spreading a wave of terror and suffering. They corrupted humanity further by teaching the black arts, sorcery, enchantments, and the crafting of weapons of war, knowledge that heaven had hidden away to protect its creation. And through it all, the mothers, the wives of the Watchers, did not weep or repent. They stood by, proud and exalted. They had become queens in an empire of destruction, revered and feared for the power they wielded through their monstrous sons. They had exactly what they wanted. For a time, heaven watched. God, in His mercy, granted them a period of grace, a chance to see the devastation they had unleashed, to feel the weight of their sin, and to turn back. But they did not. They deepened their betrayal, reveling in their corruption. And so, mercy ended. The divine patience reached its limit, and the command for judgment was issued. The archangel Michael, the fiercest warrior of heaven, descended not as a messenger of peace, but as the executor of absolute justice. His mission was to cleanse the earth. The Watchers were dealt with first, captured, bound with unbreakable chains, and cast into a deep, dark abyss beneath the earth to await their final fate. But for the wives, Michael reserved a punishment that was uniquely suited to their crime. It was a judgment designed to mirror their sin. These women, who had used their beauty and their allure to seduce divine beings and orchestrate a rebellion, were now stripped of their most prized possessions. Michael did not simply kill them. He ripped from them their beauty and their grace, leaving them deformed and twisted, physical reflections of the inner corruption they had embraced. Their names, once whispered with fear and reverence, were cursed and then erased from all memory, but their punishment extended far beyond the physical. Ancient texts, like the Book of Enoch, reveal the terrifying totality of their sentence. They were transformed, cursed to become sirens, monstrous spirits, half woman, half beast, and cast into the sea, the biblical symbol of chaos and separation from God. Their eternal punishment was to forever wander in that realm of disorder, their once enticing songs now a weapon that lures the souls of men to destruction. They were condemned to forever practice the art of seduction that had defined their rebellion, but to never again know satisfaction, honor, or power. They were erased from the book of life, suffering the ultimate divine rejection, to be completely and utterly forgotten. This ancient story is not a relic. It is a warning that reverberates through the ages. Jesus himself pointed to the days of Noah as a direct parallel to the time of the end. And if we look at our world today, we can see the same patterns emerging. We are once again obsessed with blurring and breaking the lines established by our Creator. Transhumanism seeks to merge human consciousness with machine, chasing in man-made immortality. Artificial intelligence challenges the very concept of a soul, creating a synthetic form of thought and life. In laboratories, scientists play God, creating human-animal hybrids and manipulating the very code of life. The same spirit that animated the wives of the Watchers, the arrogant desire to seize forbidden knowledge, to usurp divine authority, and to redefine creation on our own terms, is alive and thriving in our culture. But the story of the Watchers' wives does not end with their punishment. It ends with a promise. The same Michael who defeated that ancient rebellion is still heaven's protector. The book of Revelation declares that he will once again lead the final war against the dragon and every form of rebellion. The divine decree still stands. The boundaries of creation will be defended. Their story is a stark reminder that choices have cosmic consequences, that rebellion against the divine order is not a path to power, but a road to ruin. It is a warning etched in eternity, reminding us that there are lines we were not meant to cross. And it is a promise that when those lines are threatened, the heavens will not remain silent.